There's one goal here, and one promise I made to Mrs. Ford is winning. For that to happen, everyone needs to be on the same page, to be in the one step better every day. That's putting this organization in the right direction.
Donald steps up in the pocket, now throws. It is picked up by Rice. Comes back right side. Inside the 10. It is Quandre Diggs to the 5. To the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. How about Stafford opening it?
Oh, my God. It is Sir Mix-a-Lot booty thick.
I can't not hit that. You know what I mean? Welcome, Senior Bowl 2020 with Jefferson and Mark Schofield from Pro Football Weekly. We're going to talk a little bit about what we saw today. Mark is our quarterback expert. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today.
Gentlemen, just a pleasure to be with both of you guys.
Let's
today.
not stretch the gentleman too far.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't want to disuse them.
You had dinner with us last night,
did.
so you
There
know
was
that we're not total gentlemen.
Well, I mean, as far as this crowd goes, as I look around at the assembled media, we're gentlemen, I think, in this room.
We're much less on the we're on the Nikki Sixx side of Motley Crue and less Tommy Lee.
That's exactly
That's
right.
good,
That's
good,
perfect.
good. I'll go with that.
Yeah. So you know quarterbacks incredibly well.
Somewhat well.
I lean on you heavily. You are one of the best people in draft Twitter for knowing this. So let's talk about first off the quarterbacks that are here at the Senior Bowl. Probably have to start with Justin Herbert, don't we?
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah.
And measured well, but they really throw the ball extremely well. Both of these guys have very good arms, great arm talent, good velocity, and so I think they're going to check a lot of boxes this week.
Yeah.
That next tier is Jalen Hurts and Anthony Gordon.
Sure.
And I'm really excited about both of those guys. I think Gordon has a really nice future in the National Football League. I think he can fit into a lot of different offenses coming from that Mike Leach system. He runs a lot of full field progression reads. We saw a similar rise last year. Gardner Minshew,
That's right.
Washington State
From
kid,
the same
comes
offense.
in an NFL future. And then that next tier, I think, is probably Shea Patterson, Steven Montez. Patterson from Michigan. I think there's a path for him to an NFL roster, probably similar to Trace McSorley from last year.
Sure.
And Steven Montez from Colorado, who did some nice things on film, but again, it's the consistency I want to see this week from him.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of that. Let's go back 200 pounds, didn't look particularly special. But Nagy brought it up, and it jumps right off the screen when you watch it. The quick release that he's got. He can get rid of the ball instantly from a lot of different platforms, and that's something that I know as a smaller quarterback you value.
Yeah, it's something you have to value at this position, especially in today's NFL with the athletes on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
And the guys that can come off the edge and really force you to throw off platform. Gordon has the ability with that quick release, Jeff, like you said, to get the ball out in a hurry. And what's really interesting with Gordon is the fact that he can not only throw from so many different platforms, but in that offense, the ability to get through reads quickly. And let's face it, he's got a ton of reps. He's throwing 60, 70, 80 times a game.
Right.
He's got a lot of game reps
Yeah.
to put on film.
Let me ask you really quick. There's another piece in the modern NFL that's becoming more and more important, and that's mobility amongst these quarterbacks. Who's our guy to really look for on the field during practice and during the game this week for that key piece of the new quarterback?
Right. At the quarterback position, you've got 6 pretty mobile quarterbacks. I mean, all 6 of these guys can move around the pocket pretty well.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've seen Justin Herbert and what he can do.
Right.
Obviously, Jalen Hurts has some athleticism to him. He can give you some stuff in that read option game. Jordan Love moves around really well. Gordon can move around well. Patterson, obviously, he has some athleticism. He can give you that zone read game that so many offenses are using. And even Montez has some athleticism. So all of these guys can move pretty well. They're not too many statuesque quarterbacks in this class.
Right.
And so it's going to be fun to see how the offenses use them this week and get them in and around the pocket.
One thing about Patterson, and as we've seen so much being Detroit people and from the Detroit area. One thing from seeing his games every week, he plays bigger on the field than his body is in a pair of shorts on the stage. I was pretty impressed to see. He wasn't impressed by his play in retrospectively seeing his body size today.
Yeah, he's not the most physically imposing guy that you see out here. He certainly wasn't one of the. I mean, there was a punter that was here today. And I don't remember which one it was because I don't scout punters.
Right.
But look better than him.
Right.
Yeah.
And from the Michigan guys, I mean, you see Khaleke Hudson today. Wow.
Metellus, right?
Metellus was rocked up. Michigan is not skimping on their weight training program.
No, they do a good job with there. But what's interesting with Patterson is, in a lot of these quarterbacks, it's hard to find consistency. But you watch, for example, that Iowa game, not the most glamorous game to watch, a 10-3 game. It's a struggle to get
in the
through
rain.
that. Yeah, when you're watching quarterbacks. But he had some throws in the second half of that game, Patterson did, that were NFL throws, throwing the deep out route on time and in rhythm. He can put that stuff on film. If that translates to the practice field this week, we saw it last year. Trace McSorley, a lot of people thought, does he really have an NFL future? A mobile quarterback, similar play style. But he transitioned to the NFL, stuck on the Ravens. There's a room for him. If there's room for him in the league, I think there's room for Patterson in the league for sure.
So that brings us to the Detroit Lions for a second. We had David Blau this year. and he was not here last year. He was at the Shrine game last year and played very well.
Right.
What did you think of him as a pro this year? He got a lot of starts in Detroit.
I was very impressed with what he did on film. You look at that Thanksgiving Day game, came down to the wire, had a nice drive at the end of that, put together some scoring drives in that game. He was an interesting quarterback to prospect to study out of Purdue. I thought he did some nice things on film. Definitely a leadership type guy. You look at that Big Ten Media Days a couple of years ago when he gave the sort of luncheon commencement keynote speech. Tremendous leader type guy, so you can know that translates to the locker room. I was impressed with what I saw from him on film. I was impressed with what he did for the Detroit Lions. And I think that certainly if you're the Detroit Lions, and look, you can go in a couple of different directions at the top of this board. If you're confident in Stafford's health, I think you can be also confident in David Blau and what he can do behind Stafford. You could go in a different direction with that first pick.
Right. So you're not worried about like getting drafting a guy like a Shea Patterson or a Steven Montez in the 6th, 7th round to bring along as a grooming backup.
I'm really not worried about that. I'm confident in Blau's ability. Now, if it's a medical situation, obviously, with Stafford. If you're worried about the back injuries that have been mounted and you think we need to get a guy, then sure. But if you're confident in what Stafford can be and you're confident in his health, I don't think you really need to address backup. I think you can go in another different direction with all the draft picks you have.
That's good. Let's go back to Herbert for a second. He's going to get some run, I think, as a top 10 prospect. Do you think that's going to happen as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's been interesting with the rise of Joe Burrow this year, because we went into this football season thinking it's going to be Tua, it's going to be Herbert, who's going to be QB1. Well, the rise of Burrow sent somebody down, and that person that got sent down a little bit was Justin Herbert. He's going to look great this week. He throws the ball all over the field. We're going to see that translate on the practice field. Yeah. He's going to be throwing those 1-on-1s, the 7-on-7s. The ball's going to pop out of his hand. People are going to love it. I see
They're not going to be blitzing him.
Yeah, the gleam in Jeff Risden's eyes right now, friends. If you could see that. Yeah, that's what's going to happen this week. He's going to rise up boards. I would be stunned if we come out of this week thinking he's not a top 10 pick.
So is he the guy that teams are going to trade up for? Is he enough to make a team want to give up that treasure to move up and get him as a quarterback?
I would say so. And we know how quarterbacks rise. Sure. I mean, teams traded up to draft Mitchell Trubisky. And Detroit Lions fans, you witnessed that one firsthand. So
I love that.
It happens. It happens. And so, Jordan Love, he's similar like to Justin Herbert. He's going to throw the ball extremely well. People are going to get excited about that. And obviously, Tua Tagovailoa, if the hip checks out, we don't know about that. We're hearing different things down here in Mobile. But if his hip checks out, those guys will move up boards.
And that's the big thing, right? It's about that hip. Right now, what I'm hearing, and I know Briz brought it.
It's been a palpable buzz down here that the NFL is more concerned about Tua's health than the draft media and the NFL media is letting on.
Yeah.
We've all heard that.
Yep.
Is there anybody strong enough from a Lions perspective and for our watchers and listeners' perspective for the Lions that they want to take that third pick away from the Lions to get their quarterback?
I mean, the team that probably has the most ammo to do it would be Miami, right? Right. They have all the draft capital in the world if they wanted to get up from 5 to 3. And if Tua's hip checks out, you probably want to get to 3.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be teams like we know Miami at 5. Somebody's going to want to get there. Miami obviously has the most capital, but teams could probably put packages together if they're worried about Miami at 5, perhaps moving up. So the Lions are in a very good spot. I mean, there's a lot of ways they can play this out. So I'll be very excited when they draft. Who is it? Derek Brown from Auburn.
That could happen.
That's one of the
that's right.
one of the big names we're hearing. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Riz?
No, I think we're good. We'll let you go and warm up because we're sitting in the draft here.
Yeah.
We are sitting
in
the
draft before the draft.
We come to Mobile for the nice weather. It is 32
You're from the Northeast, so.
And I moved to the D.C. area. I'm getting soft. Not only am I 43 and soft and washed, I'm now washed when it comes to the climate. So it's a bit chilly for me. I need those hand warmers or something.
We need to stop for those on the way to Smoothie King today.
Fantastic.
Mark Schofield, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you stopping in here.
Thanks for having us.
Great day.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. We'll see y'all in just a little bit with more.